What's up, what's going on, legends? Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I'm bringing you guys the mission guide for Tier 2 of the Black Moss faction here in Season 2. This one does consist of 7 total missions. Out of the first 6, you will need to complete 5 of them in order to unlock the final one. And once you complete that, you guys will unlock Tier 3 of the Black Moss faction. But before we dive into it, if you guys do enjoy this content anytime or find this video helpful in any way, make sure you show your support for the channel by going down below and smashing that like button. Go ahead and throw an easy goal of 150 likes on today's video, as well as if you guys like to find your way back to the channel for more Call of Duty content, make sure you do hit that subscribe button along with that notification bell so we don't miss you in future videos. All right, first up, we have custom hardware, and this one is going to be a 3-parter. Part 1 is asking us to deliver 1 GPU to the Beach Club dumpster dead drop. Now, in order to get a hold of a GPU on the island, you will actually want to first get a hold of the weapon locker key for the Suki Castle. And once you get your hands on the Suki Castle weapons locker key, you will basically be set up to get a pretty much guaranteed GPU. Now, in order to increase your odds of actually finding one of these keys besides just looting would be to go and do HVT contracts. If you guys do enough of these, inevitably you should come across one of these keys. But again, once you get your hands on it, you're going to want to take it over to Suki Castle, and you're actually going to want to go kind of toward the front where you normally would enter, and then you're going to take that door to the right. Now, you're going to honestly just stay in this little wing here, take the right once you go through, and follow it around a corner, and you guys will see the 3 weapons lockers for the Suki Castle. And of course, as always on the map, I will try my best to show you this location, but then obviously with the key, you guys can open as many of these lockers as you do have uses. The only unfortunate part here is when I opened the first one, I didn't find one. Luckily, I had a second use. When I opened that second locker, I did get the GPU. So once I got access to the GPU, then you just need to go over and take it to the dead drop across the street from the city hall, which is behind the gas station, but I will show you that location in part 2. Now, part 2 is asking us to deliver 3 game consoles to the same dead drop. Now, 3 game consoles is not going to be very hard to acquire, and it is not asking you to do it in a single match. However, you guys should get lucky enough just by looting around to find these game consoles. They're on shelves, they're all over the little market area. They're basically hard to miss, so you guys should be able to come across these 3 game consoles pretty consistently by just looting around. In some cases, I found 2 in a very small vicinity. Once I had 3 of these, you guys are going to take them again to the dead drop across from the city hall, which I will show you guys the location on the map. You guys are going to drop these 3 into that dead drop, and this part will be complete. Now, the last and final part is asking us to extract 3 encrypted hard drives. Now, these encrypted hard drives can spawn randomly throughout the map. You guys can find them looking in computers. You guys can obviously use keys to open specific doors, and then sometimes in some of those rooms, you guys will find these in the chests or just laying across the tables. Now, the easiest way to go about finding these is actually to either go to building 21, which could be pretty crazy, and it's not always available, but if you guys are looking for something maybe on Ashk Island or even on Al Mazrah, I definitely recommend going to the supply drops because these have been fairly consistent in the supply drops. I even opened a supply drop where I found 2 of them, and then obviously you just need to extract 3 of these, and this part and mission will be complete. Next up, we have weapons research, and this one is going to be a 2-parter. Part 1 is asking us to complete a hunt squad contract. So you guys are going to need to open up your TAC map. You're going to be looking for the contract phone with the skull on it. You guys are, of course, going to go over there and grab that, and it's going to mark a squad on the map. You guys will then have to go and eliminate that squad in order to complete the contract. Now, there is another way that the contract can get completed. Basically, it's whether AI or another team eliminates that squad that you are hunting, you will then still get the completion for the hunt squad contract. Either way, once you guys eliminate the team that you are hunting, this part will be complete. Now, part 2 is just asking us to extract an enemy operator's weapon. So hopefully you guys get the elimination, or maybe you guys are just in the area and you see them get eliminated. That way you guys will be able to go over to their bodies and loot their bags. Basically, you could probably loot any bag on the map as long as it has a weapon in it. You don't even have to be the person to eliminate it. You're just going to want to pick up an enemy operator's weapon out of their bag, stow it, or keep it as your secondary. I definitely recommend keeping it as a secondary just in case. Then you guys are going to want to choose to exfil safely, recommending a hostage rescue just to make sure you pull it off in the same run. But once you guys are able to exfil safely with the enemy operator's weapon, this part and mission will be complete. Next up, we have perfection. This one is going to be only 1 part, but it is probably one of the most challenging in this tier. It's asking us to complete a raid weapon stash contract without taking body damage. Now, first up, you're going to have to open up the TAC map. You're going to be looking for the little icon. It's kind of like a tall rectangle with what looks like a little stick man in it. It's actually just a weapons vault or weapons safe that you guys will then go over there and grab the contract. It will take you guys to a stronghold. You guys will then need to clear the stronghold, and there will be a raid weapons cache or, again, a safe that you guys will then have to activate. Then does have like around a 2-minute time period in which it does take to capture it, and during that time period you cannot take the body damage. There's all kinds of theories out there that you can't take body damage the second you pick up the contract. I did not find that to be true, as I did take damage pretty much up to the point where I activated the safe itself. Now this can be extremely challenging, and it depends a lot on where the raid weapon stash is going to be. If you guys are in certain buildings, it's going to be extremely difficult to pull off because you can get flooded by all areas by the AI. But in other buildings, there is usually a stair set that goes up to the raid weapon stash, or there's at least an angle in which you can't be shot in the back. You guys are going to want to find that angle, look down the set of stairs if that's what it takes. You're going to eliminate the enemies coming up the stairs. This is really going to be depending on if you have squad mates, or even if you're just prepared enough, as it will take a decent amount of time to reload in certain circumstances. You guys want to be avoiding getting shot at any point. I know it's kind of tough because obviously it takes time to plate. You guys are going to want to be set up with at least 2 sophisticated weapons. Make sure you guys have stuns or something that you can slow the enemies down with as well, because this can help, and you guys are just going to want to try to flood them in one direction. Kind of funnel them to you, eliminate them as you go, and just be extremely cautious not to take too much damage, and that way you're not actually getting eliminated through your plates. Once the plates go away and you take body damage, you will have officially failed this, so you're going to want to prevent that at all costs. If you guys lose a plate, try to plate up any opportunity you get. Play this safely, eliminate the enemies, and once the time period expires and the stash opens, you guys will have then completed this mission. Next up, we have Getaway Vehicle. This one is going to be a 3-parter. Part 1 is asking us to park a rib along the walled shore across the river south of Said City. So there's the river that basically goes through the middle of the map. It kind of wraps through Zarqwa Hydroelectric. This is the river you're essentially going to be going through. You're going to go and find your nearest, or find any rib that you can get your hands on. You're going to jump into that boat, and you're going to want to take it through the waterway as if you're going to do that caved in mission or headed to Satik Caves. As you're going through the river, you're going to want to get to about the point where the hospital is, basically just near the Said City Mall, and you will then want to park the boat on the opposite side of that towards basically the cemetery. Once you guys stop the boat there on that side, this part will be complete. Now part 2 is asking us to kill 10 enemies in Said City in the same deployment. Essentially, you're just going to drop out of your boat. You're going to go just across the water there. You can even go into the hospital and loot that up. There's going to be plenty of AI around the mall area. You just literally need to eliminate 10 enemies anywhere that it says Said City at the top of your map. Once you've completed the 10 enemies in this area, you then have this part complete. Now, part 3 is asking us to place a gas can in the Satik Caves dead drop in the same deployment. So once you've parked the rib, you've eliminated the 10 enemies, you're going to want to make your way to a gas station. Gas stations have a pretty high likelihood of carrying a gas can. You can actually choose at any point when you want to grab the gas can. You can grab it before you take the rib. You can go ahead and get it on the way after killing the 10 enemies. It doesn't really matter. Go to one of the gas stations, get access to that gas can, and then you're going to head over to Satik Caves. Now, you've probably been to this dead drop before, as there are other missions that require you to go there, but of course, I will show you guys it on the map. You guys will then go over to the dead drop there. You will drop the gas can into that dead drop, and this last part and mission will be complete. Next up, we have Return to Sender, and this one is going to be a 3-parter. Part 1 is asking us to enter the Satik Poppy Farmer's house and loot the target's laptop. Now, before you can even go to the Satik Poppy Farmer's house, you're going to need to locate a Satik Poppy Farmer key. You guys do have access to the Crown faction, and then you complete one of the tier 1 missions. You guys should get a free Satik Poppy Farmer's key through that, so I definitely recommend saving it for this mission, and hopefully you guys will be able to be successful and not lose the key. But once you guys get access to the key, whether it's by completing the Crown 1 mission or just looting around the map, recommending lockers, toolboxes, even the shirts that hang on the wall, these all pretty much carry keys in them. You're just gonna have to look hard enough and a lot to actually get a hold of these. And of course, you guys can complete HVTs as well to increase your odds. Once you guys get access to the key, you're then going to head over to the Satik Poppy Farmer's house, which I will show you guys on the map. It is in the Satik Cave area. Once you guys open that door, you guys will go in. It's a very small house. In the corner of the room will be the politician's laptop. You guys are then going to want to pick up this laptop, and part 1 will be complete. Now, part 2 is asking us to deliver the laptop to the dumpster dead drop in the Satik Cave complex. Now, you guys are probably familiar with this location, but of course, I will show you again on the map where this is. You guys are going to go over to the dead drop. You're going to want to clear the enemies in the area because it can kind of be frustrating trying to drop something in the dead drop with enemies shooting at you. But once you're able to open the dead drop and drop the laptop in, part 2 will be complete. Now, part 3 is asking us to plant the hacked laptop back in the Satik Poppy Farmer house where it was taken. So once you've dropped it in the dead drop, you can then reopen the dead drop and pull the laptop back out. But you guys will notice now it does say hacked laptop. You guys are then going to make your way back to the Satik Poppy Farmer's house. The door will already be unlocked, obviously, because you unlocked it to grab the laptop. You will then go back to the corner of the room where you picked it up. You will see a queue to place the laptop on the ground. You guys will just place the laptop back in that location, and this mission will be complete. Next up, we have Crash Down. This one's going to be a two-parter. Part 1 is asking us to locate and investigate the crash site. Now, this is going to be located in the Satik Caves. You guys are probably familiar with the location, especially if you played last season. But last season, they didn't have the crashed plane in the location, so it was kind of just an open area. But now the plane is there. It's basically Afghan from Modern Warfare 2 in 2009. And it is a pretty easy location to find, especially if you look at the map. You guys will see like a dark outline. Of course, I will show you guys where this is. You guys will just need to go into this area and it should tick off part 1. I simply just ended up in the bunker and it put me close enough to the crash site for it to actually count. Either way, once you get close enough to the area where the crash site is, you guys will then get part 1 complete. Now, part 2 is asking us to kill 5 enemies in the Satik Caves complex in the same deployment. So you just have to get close enough to the crash site in order for part 1 to take off. And then part 2, you're going to need to eliminate 5 enemies. There's more than likely going to be 5 enemies just surrounding the plane. Just carefully eliminate each and every one of these. There should be more than you actually need. But once you guys complete 5, you guys can just get the heck out of here because this mission will be complete. Next up, we have our last and final mission, which is going to be Political Takedown. This one is going to be 3 parts, and part 1 is asking us to download data from the crashed plane's black box. Now, this is going to be the same crash site location that we just did for the previous mission. So, of course, again, I will show you guys the best I can on the map where this is located. You guys will then want to go to the crashed plane. This time, you're going to want to be prepared for battle. You'll definitely want to have a lot of plates. You might want to have a few self-revives. It kind of depends on whether or not you have a squad or if you're running solo. Then you guys are going to want to go to the area of the crash site and you're going to want to clear as many of the AI as possible to give yourself a little bit of breathing room. Then you're going to go into that crash plane. You're going to need to go to the cockpit or the very front of the plane. You guys will see a queue to actually download the black box intel or the black box information. This does take a little bit of time to actually download, so you guys will have a little bit of waiting time there. Hopefully, if you eliminated enough enemies, you won't have to deal with too many during that time period. But once this progress bar is finished, part 1 will be complete. Part 2 is asking us to extract with the black box data. So obviously in part 1, you go to the crash site, you go to the front, you download that intel. It takes a little bit of time to get it. But once you have access to that intel, you will need to exfil safely with it in order to complete part 2. Of course, a great way to do this is rescue hostage contracts, sneaking off at the final exfil if there's no more kill squads available, or just taking the risk and exfilling the normal way. Either way, once you guys actually exfil with this intel, part 2 will be complete. But if you guys get eliminated, you guys will then have to do part 1 again in order to actually get part 2. Now, part 3 is asking us to find and extract the politician's letter from the crash site. Now, while you're at the crash site, don't worry about grabbing the black box and then exfilling it because you can do all of this in one run. You guys will clear the area, like I said. You guys will download that intel at the front of the plane. Once you have that black box information, you guys will be ready to obviously extract with it. Before you leave the crash site, though, you need to go to the back of the plane. It's going to get really narrow, so you want to climb up, kind of crouch, and move your way to the back. But you guys will see the politician's letter on the back side there. You guys will then want to grab that letter. And then again, you need to exfil safely. Same with part 2. Either way, you're gonna have to exfil with both of these, so it doesn't hurt you to grab both items in the same run. But once you guys hit up a rescue hostage, the final exfil, and get out of that map safely, this mission will be complete, wrapping up the entire tier 2 of the Black Moss faction, unlocking tier 3. That's gonna wrap things up for today's mission guide. Thank you guys for all the support in today's video, all the support in the channel, and I look forward to seeing y'all in the next one. Peace.